Hello, everyone. Jim Revell here, the chaplain, and I want to give you a shout out at the first part of June as we kind of get ready for the summer months. I hope everyone's doing well. We have good news this week. Seems like we're moving to level 5 with the pandemic, which opens the state up a lot more, which is thrilling. And I want to just share with you a thought today. I had come across an article last week, that was a reprint in Reader's Digest from the site medium.com. And it kind of caught my attention because the title of the article was, "So, you've had it rough? Good!" exclamation point. And the subtitle of the article was, "How we approach hardship could tell us how long we'll live." And so they cite this a study called the Longevity Project, and it was an 80-year study that basically took 1,500 people. It took their health data, interviews, they studied medical things, they interviewed them from youth until death. And one of the authors of the study, Dr. Leslie Martin, who is a psychology professor at La Sierra University, said, "We found that many people who went through hardship went on to live very long lives." And a couple of the people cited among the 1,500 in the study were Carl and Shelley Meiden, who were reporters for Life magazine, and they actually ended up being held as prisoners of war in the Pacific arena during World War II. And they faced extremely difficult conditions, but that became the very thrust point for them to move forward in their life. So their whole story is told, and kind of as they reflected on this couple, they said they didn't see their stress as meaningless. It became the very fuel that drove them forward. So the question is, how do you face adversity? How do you manage situations, and of course stressful situations? And some of the practical tips include things like, eating right, exercise, which gets stress out, and figuring out how to regulate your stress. But the article said those kinds of things are a bit too generic, and they came up with 4 things that they suggest are keys to longevity. And the first, they said, topped the list quite strongly, and it was a high rating on conscientiousness. Now, it's very interesting because what is conscientiousness? Well, the surprising part that came out in the study was that people who were happy-go-lucky live shorter lives. And they said people who are conscientious are people who are somewhat organized, they're prudent in their life management, they're persistent in their pursuits. They have what you call a conscientiousness with a stick-to-itiveness. In other words, they don't give up. And one of the Peter Martin, who was a gerontologist from Iowa State, said anyone that has lived to be 100 years old has faced many difficulties. They have not easily given up. And what they said is this: there's kind of a balance in this. You're conscientious about the things in your life. You're thoughtful. But you don't let anxiety, stress, and worry rent space in your head and rip out your soul. And so it's important to learn how to navigate that balance, that life balance. And so conscientiousness was the first trait. The second one was what they said was not catastrophizing. That is, not assuming the worst. Dr. Martin continued and said, when we assume the worst, we make choices that get us in trouble. And how many times have we had blanks in our life that are not filled in, and we put the wrong answers in, and then we make choices that can devastate us? And so that's the second thing. Third thing was not making upward comparisons, spending my time comparing my life or circumstance to those who, in my view, seem to be in a more fortunate position than me. And certainly with the explosion of social media and people being able to sort of put their best life in photo or video out there, and then we look at that life and say, oh, I wish I had that life. The person who lives longer does not live their life by upwardly comparing themselves, but they become grateful for their own position. And then the fourth one, which I find interesting as a chaplain, they have a spiritual worldview. They lean on a spiritual worldview as opposed to a strictly materialistic one. You see a pronounced reliance, says the study, by putting the weight of your life in the hands of a higher power. And it's a way of letting go. And in fact, it reduces anger, frustration, helps you cope, and all of those kinds of things. Now, the study says certainly when we go through difficulty, we're entitled to times of adjustment. But the ones who have longevity and live a long and quality life are the ones who fight through and get to the other side. In fact, Dr. Gary Small from the Longevity Center said, if you dwell on the negative, you're not going to do well. But if you see a challenge, a difficulty, as something that you rise to, it can be very gratifying. And it's a gift. It's a gift given to you that will help you get to the other side. So if you want to talk about any of these things, or you need to talk about anything, let me know. We're here to serve you. I'm praying you live a long life, a quality life. And if you want to reach out to me, the number is 877-322-CHAP. That's 877-322-2427. My extension is 5017. Or you can email me at jrevelle, JREVELLE, @chaplain.org. Have a great summer. Thanks.